Hello, everyone. So my name is Maher, and I'm a third-year PhD student at Stevens Institute of Technology. And today I'll be presenting my working paper with Yugu and with Professor Arian and another professor at Stevens, Jun Ho Kong. So our title is Investee Beware, You Might Be ESG Fooled. And I'll explain this controversial title later on, I promise you. So first of all, we've seen that ESG has gained prominence throughout the years, and we've seen that firms, regulators, and stakeholders are actually acknowledging that there's a vital importance in a sustainable financial environment. And therefore, we have organizations to actually govern these efforts made to have a better financial business. So one of these organizations is called Principle for Responsible Investment. So what's the Principle for Responsible Investment initiative? So it's a universal network of social responsible investors, and it was sponsored by the United Nations by Kofi Annan back in 2006. And it basically, what does it mean to be a member within these Principle for Responsible Investors, or PRI? So basically what it means is that this investor will sign a pledge to voluntarily follow certain principles. And one of these main principles is actually incorporate ESG into their decision-making process. This is one. And second, seek appropriate disclosures from their investee. So in other words, they push their investees to have more ESG disclosures. However, prior literature have found that the ESG portfolio of these PRI investors do not change before and after signing the pledge. Therefore, we hypothesize at the same time that these PRI investors will not be interested in firms with higher ESG disclosures or higher ESG commitment. And how do we measure this PRI attention is that we look at the downloads made to these disclosures or to these firms. And at the same time, we expect that the ESG performance or firms will increase their ESG performance if they have PRI attention. And why is that? Is that because they want to signal to these investors that we're on the same page. We want to do somehow good, and we're on the same page, and our interests are aligned. So basically, I'm going to give you an example for this one, and please don't judge me. So let's say I fall in love in a lady, and she goes to the gym. So what I do is actually I go to the gym and I start being athletic, because in my mind, I should be more interesting to her if I'm more athletic. But the thing is, she's not into athletic men. So that's the problem. So, yeah, so basically she's not into athletic men. And we all agree that it's an example, because I'm not into athletics or anything in any shape or form. So we've talked about the signaling theory, which says these firms want to actually signal to these PRI investors that we're on the same page, and we want to increase our ESG performance as we have ESG commitment. And by the way, these PRI investors have excess in funds, because when they pledge these, actually people start giving them more money, because they're actually supposedly to act or invest responsibly. So how did we actually put our data together? So we use 3 distinct data sets. So one of them is the PRI dataset, which has the names of the investors that are actually socially responsible. This is first. Second, we look at the EDGAR Log dataset. So which basically it's the collection of webserver logs which captures the demand on SEC disclosures. And we only look at the 10K downloads made by PRI investors to all years, and we aggregate them by year. And we also look at the MSCI-KLD dataset, and we look at 6 dimensions, and we only look at E and the S pillars of the ESG. And we also use Refinitiv for robustness test, definitely. So how did we go over these datasets? So first, we actually downloaded these log datasets. and they're pretty huge, trust me, they're like 6 terabytes. And then we actually merge these data sets to their submission files because we want to see the unique identifier of the firm whose disclosure was downloaded. And next, what we do is actually we filter these downloads who are made by the PRI investors. But how do we do this? So basically what we do is we obtain the IP addresses from ARIN, which is the American Registry of Internet Numbers. And what the SEC does is actually changes or doesn't provide the last octet of the IP address. But given these PRI investors are huge, they actually own the whole range. So it doesn't matter. So they own the whole range from 0 till 255. The majority of them, at least. So we retain the 10K downloads that were initiated by those PRI investors, and we aggregate them on firm level. So looking at our sample selection data, so we start with the universe, of course, which is CompassStat, and we get rid of the observations that we do not have the ESG scores, the other control variables, and we end up with 20,000 and 10,000 observations for MSCI and Refinitiv, respectively. And this is how our model looks like. So we look at this, score, and we want to see if the PRI attention, which is proxied by the total number of downloads made to this firm, actually influences the ESG commitment for a firm. And as expected, we couldn't find that these PRI investors are actually paying more attention to firms with higher ESG scores after signing the pledge. So it's basically still consistent with the greenwashing thing that we're talking about. And next, we did find significant effect when it comes to the relationship between ESG performance and PRI attention. So basically, the firms, when they see PRI attention or attention from responsible investors, they increase their ESG scores. And this way, they want to signal to these PRI investors that we're committed to these ESG. But as you can see, like it's love from one side. So this is how our results look like. So you can see that there's a significant, there's some significance. The log PRI downloads or PRI downloads is positively related to the environmental, social, and the ES pillar. And basically, it's an equally weighted average between the environmental and social. So we can see here that the PRI attention is positively related to the environmental score. So let's look at the conclusion from this study or this working paper so far. So first, we studied whether these investors access or pay attention to firms with higher ESG scores after signing the pledge, and we did not find any results. However, we did find that firms do actually increase their ESG commitment when they see attention from these PRI investors, because they want to signal this true signal that we're on the same page with you. So these findings suggest that firms are encouraged to do ESG practices while such PRI investors are not paying attention to this whole thing. And future research work will include examining the correlation between firm ESG commitment and attention from regular institutional investors, because we want to see that, hypothetically speaking, we should not find any significance between the environmental or social score with regular institutional investor attention and not PRI attention.